Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another great episode of the 5-Star Revolution podcast because we're killing the business. Go join us on Facebook, 5-Star Revolution podcast, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel right now. Tonight, we have a very special guest, and his name is Aaron Roxas. How you doing tonight?
Not too bad. How about you?
Not doing too bad, sir. Thanks for joining me here on this cold evening.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. So let's start from the beginning here. I asked this question to every single wrestler, and people might be sick of it by now, but quite frankly, I don't care. It's my show, and everybody has a different story. So I want to know, were you a fan of wrestling growing up? And if so, who are your favorites?
Oh, I 100% was to the point that my parents got sick hearing about wrestling due to how big of a fan I was and how often I was watching it or playing the video games or whatever or anything like that. But I probably took a bit of a different route than a lot of guys did because I mainly obviously started watching it with my dad growing up, but my dad wasn't a big WWF WWE fan. So like I grew up with WCW, and then after WCW went downhill, I ended up watching TNA when TNA was first starting, and TNA and going forward up until the late 2000, early to late 2010s. So yeah, growing up, like my favorites were like your AJ Styles, your Christopher Daniels, your Samoa Joe, your Chris Sabin, your Petey Williams, guys like that, because that's who I grew up watching. Like, because that's what my dad would put on every Thursday. We didn't watch Raw, we didn't watch SmackDown typically. Usually, me and him would end up watching Impact together on Thursday nights.
Wait a minute. So you grew up on TNA. TNA didn't come around until like '02.
I'm a youngin. I don't look it, but I'm a youngin. I'm only 23. I was
Really?
born. Yeah. Uh, I know I look a lot older. I get that a lot. I was born in '98, so like I first started watching wrestling right towards the very end of WCW. Like I said with my dad. Then uh, once everything went to hell with that, then my dad found TNA, and that's what we had started watching basically together going forward. And that's what really started my love for professional wrestling.
So you missed all the good stuff. You missed the Attitude Era. You missed the Monday Night Wars. All that stuff.
Unfortunately, I mean, I couldn't help it, but
Well, you can watch that on the network or
yeah,
YouTube, whatever. But man, those were the good old days. And I remember when TNA first started, they had those weekly pay-per-views.
yeah,
Remember
yeah,
that?
yeah. Straight from Nashville back in the day at the Asylum days.
Yeah. And I knew back then that Styles was gonna be a big star, man, because the way he carries himself in the ring, his style and everything. I knew that Styles one day was gonna be a huge star.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely.
So you liking him? You liking AJ Styles really means to me that you know about wrestling because at the time there was not that much hybrid style of wrestling until TNA came into the picture.
Yeah.
So you started watching wrestling in the early 2000s. When did you figure out, hey, I want to become a pro wrestler?
Well, if you ask like 10-year-old me and my parents, it's something that I've been wanting to do ever since I was little. But really it started to become a reality probably when I was around 15, 16. I was just in school one day. I think it was like an English class or something where we had laptops. And I had gotten my work done, so I was just kind of BSing on the internet doing whatever. And I got curious, so I started looking around to see like what type of wrestling schools were around my area. I was living up in Scranton at the time, and I saw at that time there was only two. You had the Wild Samoans Training Center down in Allentown, the Allentown area. They had Backbreakers Training Center, which at that time was in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So me being 16, obviously in the state of Pennsylvania, you can't start training to be a professional wrestler or anything like that until you're 18 years old, or at least you're really not supposed to. At least that's what my trainer told me. That's what Justin Glory told me. Uh, so I I didn't even get my driver's license until I was a lot later in life. So it was going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot easier to convince my parents to drive me around to a place that was 5 minutes away from our house in just a different side of Scranton, as opposed to, hey, you want to drive me to Allentown and back so I can go train to be a pro wrestler. So at the end of once I turned 18, well, I had started going to Backbreakers for their pay-per-view parties that they had. Me and my dad started going to those occasionally. And then once I turned 18, that's when basically 2 weeks after I turned 18 was when I finally hit up Glory about starting training. And basically that's all she wrote. It's been a journey ever since. Now I'm about 5 years into business, and here we are.
So what'd your family and friends think when you first started?
My dad, I don't think really cared. I think he kind of knew it was going to happen because I was a wrestler in high school and middle school. I was an amateur wrestler for West Scranton. My mom, I think she was just in denial for a while because my mom used to always tell me I'm such a smart kid. I have such a good brain. She didn't want me to go out and get beat up for fun. And so I think for probably the first year or so, she wasn't very thrilled about it when I was going to training. She definitely wished that there was something else that I was doing. But once I was getting ready for my first match, and it was like 100% that I was going in this for the long haul. There was no convince me otherwise. That's when my mom kind of turned the page really. And now today, my parents are usually two of my biggest supporters. They always try to come out and support me whenever I'm performing in my hometown or the area around it.
That was going to be my next question. Like, do they come support you at your shows? Because I used to be a wrestler myself in my area, and I retired 2 years ago due to injuries and stuff. But my mom would never go to my shows because she would say, "Oh, I don't want to see you get hurt."
That was my mom's first. Really, she probably wouldn't have gone as early as she started to, but like I said, me being in amateur wrestling, because that was her feelings when I first started amateur wrestling in high school, was she didn't want to come to my matches, tournaments, anything like that, because she'd be in the bleachers just like wringing her hands because she'd think I was gonna break something or something like that. And that was another thing, just like how pro wrestling ended up being. It was like after a year or so, my mom ends up being one of the loudest moms in the crowd, like cheering for myself, cheering for other guys that were on the wrestling team. And even now, because the main ones they go to is the shows my training center puts on, now called Backbreakers Entertainment, up in Mayfield, Pennsylvania. That's the main show they come to. My parents are always being sure to get out there. They're always being sure they're heard. They're always talking with the guys at intermission, everything like that. Always coming out and being very supportive.
So, do you remember your first match, your first official one-on-one match? And if so, what did you learn from that match?
My very first match, it was between me. It was November of 2018. November 2017. It was myself versus a guy I trained with by the name of Dyson Bennett at Backbreakers back when they were still in their Scranton location. Look, it's kind of hard to say what I could have learned from that because at that point, obviously I was very young, but also I was a lot bigger because I had a big weight loss and a big kind of like just body transformation in general. Because back when I first started, like when I made my debut for wrestling, I was 300 pounds. Yeah. So so my style was definitely a lot different back then. I had to work differently. So now it's kind of hard for me to look back and think about things I may have learned from there, especially in my first match. Probably the biggest thing that I could take away from my early stuff is I just need to slow down. I need to listen more. That's usually the biggest thing anyone can really learn when they're first coming in, but I definitely know that was one of the big things I needed to pick up, and I should have picked up a lot sooner in my career than I really did.
Well, I want to talk about your weight loss now, since now that you mentioned it. 300 pounds when you first started. What do you weigh now? Like 205?
Yeah, I'm around 210 usually. I seem to hover around my weight fluctuates a bit, anywhere from like 205 to 215.
So what happened there that you lost all that weight, that transformation? What happened? Can you explain to us step by step how you
That was really my trainer, Justin. Well, it was a mix of just me not liking how I felt and looked, and also my trainer, Justin Glory, getting on me about it. When it came to a weight loss part, at least, because after I'd won the heavyweight title at Backbreakers, Glory had taken me aside one day at training and told me that if I was going to be representing the company, that I need to get in better shape. I need to lose weight. I need to trim up, all that stuff. Not as much lose weight. It was just more I need to look better because I looked like, if you go back far enough in my stuff, you'll see pictures. I was an 18-year-old with a very scruffy beard and just a whole bunch of top weight. That just wasn't the most pleasant looking thing in the world. So that, and between him, he was what really got me on the weight loss portion of it, which that obviously was a big portion. But then it was the big thing that's helped me now was is obviously like lifting and just getting myself like in better physique. And the main people that have helped me with that was one guy by the name of Brad DeMayo. He's been a big influence on me throughout my entire career, and he was one that really basically put a boot in my ass basically to get me finally to get off my ass and get to the gym and start taking that seriously. And yeah, Brad's definitely someone who's helped me a lot throughout my career, especially when it came to getting into better shape and getting into what now I consider to be probably the best shape I've ever been in my life. And I look to just get better and better as time goes on.
Well, I gotta say, man, I'm very proud of you and happy for you that you lost all that weight and that you're maintaining your weight now. And keep it going, man, because I've seen some of your work and you're pretty good in the ring.
Thank you.
No problem. So let's talk about dream matches for a little bit now. What are some of your dream matches? I don't care if they're dead or alive. Who do you want to step in the ring with?
Dream matches have always been odd for me because they're not things I've always really thought of, oddly enough. For me, it's mainly guys on the indies I'd like to work, guys I've shared locker rooms with that either I end up just in multi-man matches with, or I just haven't gotten to share a ring with in general, that just guys I'd like to work one-on-one. And when it comes to the indie scene around here, for me, the first people to come to mind are easily guys like TJ Epics and Saren Rain, both up from the New York area, two of HC Loc students. Uh, Another guy, someone I've been recently traveling with, he's become very known in the Northeast area, that being Johnny Moran, along with Mike Mitchell. All four of those guys I'd love to work one-on-one at some point. If it came down to names, Christopher Daniels is someone I always looked up to. Was always easily my favorite one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. So obviously I'd love to share a ring with him someday if the powers that be ever allow that to happen. Obviously, basically any name, and basically like I'm not going to sit here and just cherry pick names because obviously if I had an opportunity to work any type of name that I can easily learn from, I'd always take that opportunity. Like I said, Christopher Daniels is the first one that really comes to mind because he's a guy that, like I said, I've been a big fan of his work my entire life, basically, because like I said, I grew up watching TNA, so he was one of the guys I grew up watching. But yeah, just to list a few short names, yeah, it'd definitely be Daniels, TJ Epics, Saren Rain, Johnny Moran, Mike Mitchell. Just to name guys just name a few guys that are on my list I haven't gotten to work one-on-one with yet.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to a wrestling event on Saturday, and Christopher Daniels is going to be on that show. So I'm going to go up to his merch table and say, hey, man, I have a podcast, and Mr. Aaron Roxas called you out. I believe he's from that area, isn't he?
I believe so. I'm not 100% positive. I'd have to double check that. I know he worked with Ring of Honor and I believe CZW for a little while early on, but I'm not too sure about 100% on where he's originally from.
So when you get behind the curtain before a match, how do you feel before you step through that curtain? What's going through your mind?
Oh, I've always got the pre-match jitters going on. I've always got those butterflies in the stomach right before you go out there. I'm always focused on what I gotta do, how I gotta do it, what I can do to make whatever I'm gonna go out there and do better, whether it be a singles match, whether it be a tag match, whether it be a scramble, multi-man battle royal, whatever it is. I'm always trying to think 100 steps ahead. I'm always trying to figure out what I can do to make my work better and obviously also make my opponent look as good as possible. And like I said, all comes down to just a pre-match jitters. That's usually the number one thing. And that's something that I'm sure you've heard it a dozen to 100 times because I've heard it 100 times. If you don't have those pre-match jitters before you go out there, you shouldn't be going out there because that means you don't care and that means you shouldn't be in this business anymore.
I 100% agree. You know what else? For me, I always had to go pee before my match.
That tends to always be how it works. It always ends up being like you're fine the entire time, but the second you're finally geared up and it's 2 minutes before you go out there, suddenly you have to go. And it's like, well, you got to hold it or you got to hope you can find someplace really quick. One of the two, or else it's not going to be a fun night.
Well, I think that has to do with the pre-match jitters, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So I want to know, and I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to this want to know, who is Aaron Roxas? What's the character about?
Aaron Roxas, just recently, actually, I've really starting to get the character down after 4 years. So mainly thanks to the guys at the Sanctuary up in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, John Drosky, the Mastodon, Rosh, Johnny Moran. They've all helped me a lot with getting my character down. Another guy, J.S. Hawthorne, he's another one from there. It's really helped me. Character's really just become. I'm a contract killer from the city on at the edge of the world called Twilight Town. I'm just trying to basically thin the herd throughout the entirety of professional wrestling, one contract at a time. No one's ever safe from Aaron Roxas because I just answer to the highest bidder. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think of me. As long as I get paid at the end of the night, that's all that matters.
So pretty much,
pretty much
you're a bounty hunter,
basically.
All right.
To make a long story short.
So I do this to every single guest that comes on my show. I'm gonna challenge you, if you want to, and if you can, for like 30 seconds to shoot a promo in character. You think you could do it?
I'm sure I could.
Well, let's hear it, man. On anything.
All right, let's see here. Well, I can trying to think. All right, yeah. So, you see, the thing is, all I ever see coming through this entire territory is just anti-heroes and guys that are kissing babies and saying they're going to come in, take names, take titles, whatever it is. You see, the difference between you and Crossfire Aaron Roxas is that I don't care who you are. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care where you've been, who you've beat. Because at the end of the night, nobody is safe from the Crossfire. Because as long as the check clears or the bills are good, everybody must prepare to be in the Crossfire.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. That was not bad. And thank you so much for doing that.
No problem.
So, one thing you wish you knew that you know now.
What, when I first started?
Yes.
There's not too much I really wish I knew because a lot of stuff that I know now that I knew back then that.
You froze on me. That's what happens right here on the 5-Star Revolution podcast when you're trying to record a podcast with Mr. Aaron Roxas. He's frozen right now. I'm not sure if his feed went out or my feed went out, but hey, Mr. Roxas, you still there? Well, we were almost done, sir. You didn't have to run away. Hold on, let me see if you're on Messenger here. We're still recording here. You're back?
Could you not hear me?
No, you froze up for like a minute.
Oh, my bad. Your thing went dark, so I thought you just hid your camera. But no, what I was saying was like I said, like a lot of stuff was like listening more, slowing down, because like that stuff I was being told a lot back then, back when I first started 4 or 5 years ago. But I was like, I was too young. I was a 19-year-old kid that just came out of high school, and I was already doing my dream job, basically, of being a wrestler, something I dreamed of my whole life. I thought I was king of the world. So I wasn't listening to any of these guys that were like, that have been doing this 10, 15, 20 years, the guys I should be listening to and taking in everything. And it's like I said, listening, slowing down, all that stuff was stuff I've learned now and I've easily implemented into what I do. But it's like back then, people tell me that, and I was just like, oh yeah, whatever. And looking back, I was such a snot-nosed kid. Like I said, 19 years old, I thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. And I was just such a low shithead. And I know there's a lot of guys around the area that didn't like me because of it. And I don't blame them, because looking back, some of the ways I acted, some of the things I said, and things I did, I wouldn't have liked me either. Like, especially like 23-year-old Aaron Roxas would not have liked 19-year-old Aaron Roxas. And that's a fact, because I was not a good kid back then. I was not someone that I'm not someone that should have been given the chances that I should have been back then. And I'm very grateful for the chances I was given back then. And I'm looking to make amends for a lot of those mistakes I made back then. But yeah, biggest things I definitely could have learned from then. I wish I had really learned back then was just listen more, slow down, pay more attention to what you're doing. Less is more. That's the biggest thing that I should have paid more attention to back then, because it's one of the biggest things anyone could do and learn in pro wrestling. The less you do, as long as you make it emphatic, energetic, and make it impactful enough, and showmanship enough for the crowd and everyone there, it's going to mean a lot more than you doing 4 little things in a span of 30 seconds. Easily.
So what changed that mentality of being an asshole to being the guy you are now?
I wouldn't really say I've changed from being an asshole. I'm more of a calmer asshole, I think, now. But I think it was just growing. It was just age. It was just growing up, surrounding myself with some better people. Like I said, I've been traveling with guys like Brad DeMayo and Eric Pinhat. They've been great guys to learn from. They've helped me mature to who I am now. Also known as the Diamond City War Machines. Like as I said previously, I recently started traveling with Johnny Moran and the Mastodon. They're 2 other great guys that have been really helping me the past few months and during my time at the Sanctuary throughout 2021. They've helped me mature a lot more too. It's just, like I said, it's just a mix of age on its own and just surrounding myself with better people, being around better guys that can help bring me up more, and hopefully I can help them as time goes on.
So you keep talking about traveling, going to places. I'm sure you have some funny road stories that you can tell us. Mind telling us one?
He's going to kill me for this, but oh well, because we still bust him for this. The guys I mentioned previously, Brad DeMayo and Eric Pinhat. One day we were on our way home from some show. I forget where it was. I want to say it was near the Allentown area, but it's like middle of summer, I think, so it was hot, because the reason why this happened was because of the AC. So it's me, this guy Squid Sterling, and I think one other person was with us, and Brad and Pinhat were in the front. And Pinhat's driving because we're in his van. And we're on our way back from some show. All of us are tired. We're just ready to get home. It's like a 2-hour drive. And the air conditioning wasn't working in the 2 like vents that are up in the ceiling in the back seat area. So he was looking down at where the AC is, and he wasn't really paying attention to the road. And as we're going, he's just going straight, and there's out of nowhere just this sharp right turn coming up to go towards the highway, and he's still not looking at the road. So Brad, I wasn't really paying attention. I was doing something on my phone. It was the other guys that had noticed it. So Brad just goes, Eric, slightly more panicked, Eric. And Eric still has no idea what's going on. And Brad just yells as loud as he can, Eric! As we come this close, basically, to going off the road, as Pinhat just basically channels his inner Tokyo drift and drifts this full-blown soccer mom van into this complete, basically 90-degree right turn to get us back towards the highway, nearly killing us. And we gave him shit about the entire ride home, and we still do to this day, because it pisses him off so much. But that's easily the first one I can think of from recent memory. But yeah, that was an interesting one. It was just like I said, the biggest thing was just Brad's increasingly panicked calling of Pinhat because Pinhat wasn't paying attention at all. He was focused on getting the AC on for us because he still blames us for that. He says the only reason that happened was because he was trying to fix the AC for us in the back.
Try to make you cool, try to make you comfortable in his car while he almost got into an accident.
Exactly. That's it. That's his exact mentality of it.
So, a couple more questions for me, Mr. Roxas. What can we expect out of you in the next 3 years? Where can we see you going in the next 3 years?
Hopefully, in 3 years' time, you'll see me all over the country at that point. I'm working on trying to get out there more this year. Trying to get out towards the south, trying to get more up, just more along the East Coast as well. But within the next 3 years, hopefully, like I said, hopefully I'll have been all around the United States. Hopefully I'll have even made some appearances in other countries, whether it be Canada, whether it be Mexico, even overseas in the United Kingdom, Europe, different other European countries, stuff like that. That's where I would hope to be in about 3 years from now.
So, do you usually stay in your area for the most part?
I'm trying to get out there more. Like I've been doing New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, uh, Pennsylvania. For the most part, lately, that's been my main areas. I'm hoping, like I said, hopefully, I'm looking to expand out more as time goes, especially as the year goes on this year. Now that hopefully things will start opening up more as hopefully the COVID restrictions get kind of nipped in the butt soon, especially with once winter ends and everything else. But we'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, how the world is.
I agree, man. I'm tired of this COVID crap. Hopefully, it ends soon. I doubt it for the things that are going on in this world right now, but we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Next to last question. What do you want to get out of this business? What's your main goal?
See, that one's always been difficult for me because I've never 100% known. Like I've never really had an end goal, especially with how the world of professional wrestling is always changing. Because it's like you see a lot of people going around anymore saying WWE is not the end goal and end game for people anymore. For me personally, if I had an opportunity with WWE, obviously I would grab it second I could. Same thing with AEW, same thing with New Japan, stuff like that, and places like that. Even Ring of Honor, because it sounds like Ring of Honor is already planning on making a comeback with Super. I believe it's Super Card of Honor is already coming back around later this year. But for me, the main initial goal is just to work in the the United Kingdom, because I had a point in my life, probably from when I was about 13 years old, where I kind of fell off wrestling. I wasn't really watching it anymore. It was just that where I wasn't having much of anything to do with it, and the wrestling in the UK, places like Progress, places like Rev Pro, ICW over in Scotland, places like when I first started watching promotions like that, that's what really got me back into my love for professional wrestling. Was watching guys like your Pete Dunne, your Flash Morgan Webster, your Mark Andrews, your Rampage Brown, your Joe Coffey, guys like that back then. No, those are the guys that got me back into my love for professional wrestling, got me basically to finally get me back into it enough that I decided that that's what I wanted to do with my life. So right now, my next goal is to get to the UK. My end game goal, I'm not 100% sure on yet.
Well, I got some good news for you. I interviewed somebody from the UK that owns his own promotion. It's called Lion Wrestling Promotions. His name is Aaron Sharp, the Lion Aaron Sharp. I'm not sure if you heard of him, but I'll pass along the word.
I 100% appreciate that.
Not a problem. So, where can our fans, where can our listeners follow you on social media, my friend?
All right, we got Aaron Roxas on Facebook, AARON space ROXAS. Same thing on YouTube. Instagram is Crossfire Aaron Roxas, spelled like how I said before, Crossfire. Then Aaron Roxas spelled the same way as previous. And Twitter, I'm not on that a lot. I need to get better at that, but I believe Twitter is Aaron Roxas WTO. And TikTok is Crossfire Aaron Roxas.
Well, there you go, folks. Go follow my friend Aaron Roxas on every single social media platform that you have. We wish you the best of luck in your career. I'm sure we'll see you on the UK scene soon, my friend.
Thank you. And thanks
And
for having me once again.
not a problem, man. And for you listeners, don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel right now and go follow us on Facebook, 5 Star Revolution Podcast. Mr. Aaron Roxas, have a great night, man.
You too.
Take care.
You as well.